Today, Africa is operating under what is a grand agenda, the grand agenda of Africa 2063. And if you read the grand agenda of 2063 and the 7 pillars, Africans are promising themselves many things, all of which ride on infrastructure. We are promising ourselves that we are going to improve the quality of the lives of our people, which demand that we have roads. But look at Africa today. The statistics were read to you here. Do we have roads that can stand the scrutiny of quality? Is it possible for one to move from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to Dhaka in Senegal? Is it possible for one to have goods moving from Cape Town to Cairo in Egypt? Do we have such roads? Do we have railway systems that can convey goods from the port of Beira to Bangui in Central African Republic? Do we have them? Do we have systems that can help us in that regard? When we talk about the provision of infrastructure that deals with water, do we have infrastructure that can deal with that? Do we have infrastructure that can deal with solid and non-solid waste? Do we? The answer is we don't. And the little that we have, do we maintain them properly? And the little that we have, must we depend on others in order to maintain them? Or we can maintain them ourselves? These are the questions that I urge you to consider during this conference, because if we don't, the continent will be perennially dependent upon others. And when you are dependent upon others, then you cannot sleep easy. There is a proverb amongst the Mosi in Burkina Faso that when you sleep on a borrowed mat, you can never have sweet dreams. And I'm suggesting to you that we must now give away the mat that we borrowed so that we have our own mats, that we may have sweet dreams and sleep easy. Africa Agenda 2063 is a promise that we are going to have energy, that Iran produces more electricity than all African countries combined, excluding Egypt and South Africa. If we are in such a state, then we know that we are in trouble. And the only way to get ourselves out of trouble is to begin to innovate and invent. Whenever I go to Namibia, there is a big poster saying that Namibia can supply the whole of Africa with solar energy. Good, but have they? Beyond the declaration, we have solar, but can we harness solar power? And even when we harness solar power, tell me, you great engineers present here, which African country makes solar panels? Which one? None. Which African company is in the business of solar research and development? Which one? Which university in Africa is involved in research and development in solar? None. And if you are not involved, how then can we talk about sustainability? We are talking about wind as clean energy. Which university in Africa is involved in the area of research and development in wind energy? None. And I'm suggesting to you that it is your institutions that must begin to work with industry and with the academy so that we can begin to get into the arena of research and development and therefore be the fuel that catalyzes sustainable development as contemplated under Africa Agenda 2063.
There's a German kid right now, as you and I speaking, subject mining, But when you look at his continent, wherever he comes from, there's no minerals underground. But the boys and girls are being taught about mining and minerals. Me and you, there was no subject called mining in high school. What mining were you taught in high school? What's the process to start a mine? Just tell me basics of mining. But mining is a strong pillar, probably amongst the strongest pillars of our economy. So that means that there's a child in Germany somewhere that's being prepared, in Asia somewhere that's being prepared to come and run this economy, while your kids are being prepared to come and work for those German kids that are going to come here in future. Because your kids are being taught how to do nonsense, how to label an insect. Listen, our economy in this country, it's agriculture. Our economy in this country, I can even break down what agriculture is. Mining, manufacturing. Why aren't those things primary subjects in primary school, in high school, so that you've got a basic understanding of your own economy? That means some people must come from somewhere to run this economy, because your kids were never taught anything about this economy. So designed to continue systematic slavery and suppress the people of the day and make sure that the future belongs to those who are prepared for it.
We must never forget this.
Countries that oppressed us all in Africa, they actually believe they own us. We belong to them. They actually were the one who were ruling us. It was that led us to say, if they don't listen to us, what must we do? The ANC was banned. So in other words, let alone the right to raise your views, which was allowed to everybody else, but to us black ones, we're not allowed to do so. That is what led to the ANC to say, well, under the circumstances, we are left with no alternative but to fight, to take arms and fight again. Tambo went to the Western countries to ask if you could help to train our soldiers so that we can fight. What did the Western countries say? They said, sorry, Mr. Tambo, we'll never do so. So the Western countries said they were not ready to help us liberate ourselves, partly because those were their own countries, as it were. Only when we went to the countries in the East, the socialist countries, were we given the understanding that these were people who said no one should oppress the other. And they trained us, made us soldiers. We started fighting, and that's what made us to be free at the end.
A great historic example, especially for the young generation, of who our true friends are. The West oppressed us, whilst the Eastern countries, including China, Russia, and others, gave us a chance for freedom.
Now looking back, the British and you admire them greatly.
You cannot have meaningful development without electricity. France has a population of 65 million people, yet it generates 4 times more electricity, 4 times, than all the 47 sub-Saharan African countries generate for their 805 million people. What that means is that a French person consumes 50 times more electricity than an African today. So what do you say if a Frenchman told you your continent is rising? You have to ask yourself, what exactly is he saying? And then there is a lot of talk about trade. Africa joining the world and becoming a partner in global trade. I don't know if you checked, moving a ton of fertilizer from a US port to the Kenyan port of Mombasa, which is a 9,000 kilometer journey, costs $40. But moving the same ton of fertilizer from Mombasa to Kampala, 1,000 kilometers away, costs $120. That is 30 times. It costs 30 times more to move cargo across African borders than it costs to move cargo to African ports. That cannot be constituting rising. But now let's talk about aid. Germany was a recipient of aid after the Second World War. So was Japan, so was South Korea, so was Malaysia, or even famous Singapore. They all received aid. But there's something special about them, which is they all without exception graduated from being aid recipients within 20 years. By the time those 20 years were over, they were actually giving aid to other people. But Africa, 60 years later, 60 years later, Africans are negotiating on a global stage the next form of aid they think they want to be getting. Why is it that we are not able to graduate from aid? Why is it we are not able to start giving aid to others?
As Lord Ram's dark sky maps of ancient empires are now fading, for centuries, the world was shaped by great empires. Empires that stretched across a continent, ruling through conquest, wealth, and influence. But like all empires, stretched across the continent, ruling through conquest, wealth, and influence. But like all empires in history, from Rome to the Ottomans, to Spain, Britain, and France, powers does not last forever. We know this. And even from the scriptures, from the history, from everywhere, every writings that has explained ever about the existence of these great empires, we know that no empire will last forever. More so, all this great empire, we know that it was built by on back of other peoples. We know that all these great empires were built, many of them through the sweat, through the torture, through the captives and the enslavement of the black people across the world and across the black nations who were taken to work forcefully and paid. But due to that, they never quitted. They never surrendered. But they keep on contributing to these great empires by contributing by their all energy and strength to build this great empire, which later came to betray them. And that's why today we are having, like the Africans and the black Americans, we are talking about the freedom, the independence, because of this, of the existence of the great empires. Now, welcome back. This is the Kenyan Explorer. I welcome you to this channel. Kindly consider subscribing, sharing if you are new here, so that we can keep on moving together as we spread positivity across the Africa and the black people across the world. And today, in the quiet shifting of global force, a new chapter of being written. A new chapter is being written. Africa is rising. We know that. Today all that I'm trying to speak about or address is not something that you need to go through the history, through the novels, through the people to tell you about all that is happening. But this is something that is happening before our eyes. We all know today all that is happening across Africa and across the world. We know that many of the Africans today who are really believer and firm believer of the unity of the black men, who are the believer of the freedom of African continent. You know what I'm trying to talk about. You know that today Africa is rising. You know that beside that, the great empires are falling. And they're not just they're not just falling, but they're collapsing, falling apart, splitting from one another. Because this is something that they never expected, that maybe one day it will come to happen. But the people from ancient Africans, the people of the Kala who really believed in the unity and freedom, we believed in. Even our ancestors who were enslaved, they believed in this, that one day something like this will come to happen. And now it's not just happening far from our eyes. Sometimes I think beyond and say that maybe I would like to I may wish to see my freedom fighters, our enslaved people, or the black people, living today and experiencing and watching all that's happening today across the world. How the Africa today is still acting like the new sheriff in town. How Africa today is being seen as a superior. The superior and the oppressors today are coming to kneel before Africa. They need help because they can't hold it no more. All their dominance, all their powers has get away under their feet. Now, Africa is stepping into the space left behind by fading empires. Now, young Africans working in tech hubs, universities across the continent, a generation is awakening, unburdened by colonial war, colonial fear, and interested in old world superiority, and driven by innovation, identity, and visions. From Nairobi to Lagos, from Kampala to Uganda, from Accra, Ghana to tech hubs, rise, startups multiply, and digital revolution accelerates in a higher speed that you would have never expected that maybe it will come to happen at this time. But why it is happening today? I always say, and I always tell you that whatever we are watching happen today, you know, some of us, most of the African youths who are truly day to day going on the street to fight hard for this great continent, who are truly fighting for the freedom of their countries, who are truly fighting for the independent, who are truly fighting for sovereignty and a unity of the black man. Many of them, they might never know what is pushing them. They might never know the impact of all that they are doing. But let me tell you something today. Don't feel or think like maybe or whatever you are doing today, you're just doing it accidentally, or you are just doing maybe because of some eruption or some issues have arisen in your country. Maybe through the crisis and chaos that are coming out of our countries from our governments. That may be causing all this for all this action that the youths are taking. No, it is not that way. All that is happening today, it is a spiritual awakening. This is a prophesied time. So the people who are fighting for this great continent, the people who sacrificed their life, the people who never cared about themselves, who never cared about their life, but they were only thinking of tomorrow's future, which is today. The people who are fighting for us, for this great continent, for the safety of this great continent that we today, I and you, we are living freely, and we are having the freedom of speech, we are having the freedom of expression. They believed that a day like this will come. So whatever you are doing today, it is not accidentally, but this is something that was planned and expected, that one day it will come to happen. So I always say that today, the spirits of our great Pan-Africans, the spirit of our great enslaved Africans, and all the people who are truly fighting for this great continent, wherever they are today, they are happy. They are so happy because they believed in this generation. They believed in the coming generation, that all that they were trying to fight for, all the agendas and dreams that they were trying to push, the coming generation will come and will achieve their agendas, their dreams, and their vision. And that is what is happening today. So whatever you are doing today, you are doing something that was ditched or was left somewhere else, and you are the person who was expected that you will come to finish this agenda, to push it to the end. So whatever you are doing today, some of us, we are doing things unexpected, without maybe having an agenda. You find yourself doing something. At the end of it, you ask yourself questions: How was I able to do this? You are not alone, but there's some guidance. There's some spirits who are pushing you, guiding you, protecting you. We have the God of the black people today, who is fighting to free his people who have been captives for so long, over 500 years ago. The people who are oppressed, the people who never saw light, the people who never felt joy and happiness in their hearts. Today, that the one today who are being fought, that the one today who are winning every battle without going on the battlefield, that the one today who are being celebrated. Today, every African leader or king who arise many years ago, they were taken down because it was believed that the black people were never expected to do something great, or were never expected to be seen as great people. But why today is happening? Because this truth that they tried to bury, to hide all those years, it is the same truth that is today coming again and is hitting hard. That's why today we see things are happening in a mysterious way. You see today eruptions, crisis, chaos. People on the streets of France, in Paris, are demonstrating day and night. They don't want their governments, yet they're the people, the governments with the strongest weapon in the world, but they can no longer use these weapons or this superiority they are having to control their people. Their people today are out of power, because the time that was promised for the Africans or the black people is now. You cannot hide the truth forever. You cannot fight the truth. You cannot fight the time. So today the time is fighting itself. It is fighting for the black people. So this is our time. This is the awaited time for the rising of Africa and the collapsing of the great empires. Now,
you cannot have meaningful development without electricity. France has a population of 65 million people, yet it generates 4 times more electricity, 4 times, than all the 47 sub-Saharan African countries generate for their 805 million people. What that means is that a French person consumes 50 times more electricity than an African today. So what do you say if a Frenchman told you your continent is rising? You have to ask yourself, what exactly is he saying?
we have the bodies like ECOWAS, like African Union. We have them. They are surrounding us. But have you ever sit down by yourself and ask these kind of questions? What are these bodies representing us in Africa? What are these bodies? What are the main aim or agendas or vision of these great bodies in Africa? Because for many years, I was born, when I joined school, I find these bodies like ECOWAS, UN. We studied about these great bodies of which are surrounding Africans, and which are many of them, the Africans are member states of them. But for so long, we have seen, when maybe today things are trying to calm a little bit, but for the past years, we saw every time the terrorists happening in Africa, people being killed by terrorists. We saw in many countries, people being swept away by floods. We saw in many countries in Africa, animals and the people dying due to hunger and drought. We saw in many parts of the world, in Africa, many children dying due to some diseases that are very easy to control, but because they are not able to access the medical cover, the medical system, because their country doesn't have the best medical systems, because their families doesn't have are not able to acquire for the medical covers, we lost millions of people. We have lost millions of people due to security instabilities here in Africa, due to political issues. But this body has been there. It has been existing. We are having the people who represent them. We have the people. When you go to when I speak to the ECOWAS is representing over 200 million people in West Africa. All these people are depending on ECOWAS. But tell me today, how many countries in West Africa today have peace in their land? Today we're watching everything that's happening in the country of Nigeria. We saw all that has happened in the country of Sahel. Instead of ECOWAS standing by Sahel and maybe supporting them, giving them the best support they can do, they were the one fighting them. They fight back. They force them to go back to ECOWAS. And yet they really know, I believe that they know the truth. They know that these people are doing great things. They are developing compared to when they were still in this ECOWAS. But they cannot stand and support their people. Why? Why? Because these bodies, for real, were never meant for us. It wasn't created for the African problems. But this is just an umbrellas. It used just like tools to cover some people, a group of people. Because through this, there are some people who are benefiting who are not Africans. Through these bodies like ECOWAS, some people, there are many people or group of people who are coming through it. They sneak to African resources. They take everything that belongs to us, leaving Africa in a poor situation, and they are the one who are going out to expose the poverty of Africa. Africa's rise isn't just economic; it's a political, it's a cultural, it is a psychological. Nations are asserting sovereignty. Old alliances are questioned. New partnerships are formed. The continent no longer looks outward for validation. Instead, the world looks towards Africa for opportunity. Today, we're going out. We are not looking for validation. Today, when we want to do something as the youth, we don't require some validation to other people. We don't need permissions from America, from Europe, from Paris, for us to go on the street and demonstrate against our leader. But this is a generation, a different and totally different, or a generation that are taking the best decision they feel it's going to benefit them. Not only them, but it's going to benefit the African continent. It's going to benefit the coming generation. Because we believe, I personally believe, that our founders, who are the freedom fighters, who are fighting for the liberation, they tried so hard. But most of them messed up. They messed up because they were successfully convinced, brainwashed, and manipulated. That's why today we are still having the same problem. Each and every year, when we come here to speak, we speak the same problem. Nothing has changed. Everything that existed those ancient days is what is existing today. Just like the difference being, it is being existed in a different manner. Today, we are not being colonized with chains, but we are being colonized by foreign policies, by democracy, by our own leaders, greedy leaders. So these people never left Africa, but they just evolved. They changed a way of colonization. They introduced the neo-colonization. That's why today it's very hard for the Africa. It is very hard for the Africa to have the best leaders, because every leader that we are having in Africa are the same leaders who are being installed from Europe, from America. For them, they are just being used as agents for these people, so that when they come here in Africa, they want gold in Burkina Faso. They use our own leader to access these golds. We, as the Africans, we are only being used to mine this gold, to excavate this gold. We bring them out and we give them. They offered us a small amount of money that cannot even sustain our life. They go refine it and they bring back to sell for us. They come with a price that we, as the people who have mined it, we cannot afford it. So that's the mind game they used to. So everything that is happening today in Africa is what happened all those days. Nothing new is happening. It is just upon us to make sure to make sure that we are going to make sure that we don't allow what happened to happen again. So today the world is which days looking the opportunities in Africa. We have seen how the Americans, the black Americans, are locating in a high in large number to Africa, because today they believe that in Africa is the land of opportunities, not the other way around as how we were trained, and we believe that America and Europe is the land of opportunity, is land of honey and the green pastures. But it is happening the vice versa today. All that was said about Africa is about America is what is really happening physically in Africa. So, my good people, when we have to speak about the Africa and how Africa is rising and why the great empires are falling, you can take even the whole day to speak, but you cannot end it. You cannot finish, because a lot is happening. A lot is happening today that we are watching with our eyes. So I'll have to wind up. Natural resources, minerals, green energy. In a world hungry for minerals, technology, clean energy, and young talent, Africans hold the keys to the 21st centuries. That's why today we are able to stay to stood firm and say that enough is enough, and you are not going to control our resources. We are the one controlling. We are the one to make the price. We are the one to bargain. So if you are ready to do the business, well and good. If you are not ready, then there's no time for fun or for plays that has been happening all these years. Empires fall, nation rise, but Africa is not just rising. Africa is awakening, and the world is watching. Empires falling. Empires fall, nation rise, but Africa is not just rising. Africa is awakening. The world is watching, and they know all that's happening. They know, because everything that is happening because of the reality, because of the truth. And this truth they know because it has been breached. And the people who are making this to happen are the people who have known who knew this truth today. That's why things are happening in a different way, whereby if you don't understand, you cannot understand. So all that I can say is that let's keep the spirit of unity as the Africans and the black people, because through this we are going to achieve the agenda of Kwame Nkrumah, of Patrice Lumumba, of Thomas Sankara, because the agenda was one: the unity of Africa, the unity. This is the same agenda. This is the same crime that cost some people's life. This is the same agenda that made some people not to live long, because they were trying to awaken other people. They were trying to spread positivity, to cancel the influence of the Westerners. That's why they were taken down. So it is upon us, our responsibility, to make sure that all those dreams of the great leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Muammar Gaddafi, all these people, Malcolm X, who are trying to fight for the unity and freedom of the black man, this is the time for achievement, and we must do this. Coming 2063, 2050, the great change must be here. Tell me what you have in the comment section. I've taken a lot of your time. I apologize for that, but I hope that you've enjoyed the video. If so, then leave a comment, consider subscribing, sharing, join my membership. Keep on subscribing. Come on the next episode, because I'm here to make sure that I find my best research to deliver to you. I have to make sure that you get what you deserve. Until next time, we come and do the same. Thank you very much for being here each and every day. You are doing great. I love you and appreciate your support, and may be blessed wherever you are watching from.